This is Golden Years, a roadmap to navigate retirement with Mark Cordner, the podcast.
And kind of a cool fact here, Social Security, the act was signed by President Franklin Roosevelt in August of 1935. So happy 90th birthday to Social Security.
Yeah, hard to believe, huh? I mean,
That's
we've
crazy.
taken it for granted. It's been there our entire life, and it's had changes, though. You know, it's not the same now as it was originally, and it's not going to be the same in the future as it is today. You know, I'm old enough to remember when there was fear of Social Security going bankrupt. You know, back in 1982, 1983, there was all this anxiety, and they made some changes to the law that changed what everyone thought was permanent about Social Security. They introduced taxation of benefits. They delayed when benefits would be received. And, you know, why would I bring this up? Well, we're in this very same situation now because it's feared that in 2032 we're going to be in the exact same dilemma again, where they're going to have to cut benefits by 25%. And, you know, on average, that's to be about a $500 a month reduction. It'll be more for some people. And so this is a material consideration. And, you know, I've got some strong opinions about where it's headed and all, but and I don't think people need to panic, but there's absolutely things we can do to prepare for the changes that are coming.
We've been seeing that. We've been hearing that from this administration as well. So, and listen, no one has a crystal ball, as you talked about before. We don't know if Social Security is going to take that hit in 2033 and be cut back 23%. Will it be there in some shape or form? I think we're all kind of, you know, crossing our fingers and hoping so. Will it be there in the same capacity that it was for your parents or your grandparents? Probably not. But how does it fit into that income plan? And by the way, if it's not going to be there, how do you make up for that gap? This is where this conversation starts, you guys. You want to be proactive and start today, not wait until after a decision is made or after you tell the boss that you're out of there. This is something you do before you start making those big decisions.
Yeah, there's actually some really creative stuff being done now, and so we encourage people to learn about this. I think generally the older you are, the less you're going to be affected by this, because the general rule of thumb is that when they make changes, it's for people under the age of 50. So, you know, my high school graduation friends and I are going to be probably okay. I'm a little more concerned about you being as younger as you are, but there, again, are strategies that we can implement. As a matter of fact, some insurance companies have become really innovative. I can think of one particular product that's really popular now, and one of its features is a benefit that they call it a plan gap benefit, and it basically closes the gap. If Social Security is reduced, it pops up and provides this additional benefit to close that gap. So there's a lot of concern about this across the industry, a lot of things that are being done to protect people so they can have the confidence they need to actually retire and not feel like they got to work for another 5 or 10 years just in case the government goes sideways on us. So, there's things we can do, and we invite people to come in and learn about them because absolutely we can protect you and give you confidence.
That's really 90% of the game right there, is having confidence, understanding your plan, taking control of the plan. And so instead of just sitting there and waiting to see what happens with Social Security, be proactive today. We talked about it before. You don't want to put all your eggs in one basket when it comes to Social Security. You certainly don't want that to be the only income that you have in retirement. And that's where Mark comes in. He's able to look at the bigger picture. He's able to show you and help you create different streams of income so that you're not reliant on the folks in the government. I mean, my gosh, that's not what you want at all. So if you want to come in for the Social Security Optimization Report, let's do a couple things. When should you claim Social Security? How should you claim Social Security? How does it fit within your current income plan? And if you're worried about it disappearing or minimizing a little bit there, this is that conversation of how do you make up for that. Again, that's Social Security Optimization Report, 702-996-4050, 702-996-4050. That website, mygoldenyearsroadmap.com. Now, before we get a break here, Mark, there might be folks that have been with us for the past few weeks listening to the show. There might be even some new folks out there. Explain to them what is different in your approach, in your process, maybe in just your education alone that helps you, have this conversation with folks. What makes you different, bigger, and better than the other guy down the road? Why should folks come in and visit with you?
Well, I don't know that I'm bigger, but I think we absolutely are better in some respects, and a lot of it is simply admitting that we have our limitations. I can't be all things to all people, but we absolutely are all things to some people because we take a comprehensive approach that addresses all resources. So we're looking at maximizing resources that other people don't integrate. For example, home equity. That's something that most people leave completely off the table, but we find that we can improve a person's estate by about a third when we implement home equity maximization strategies. Certainly we talk about the Social Security the way you've described, for example. One of the big issues with us is we talk about health care. It's said that less than 7% of advisors, according to studies, less than 7% of advisors are talking about long-term care. Well, that's the big time bomb that blows up people's plans. And so we're looking at all of these issues, and every act, every invested dollar is being invested for a particular purpose, a particular outcome. So everything we're doing is very strategic. None of this is by chance. But at the end of the day, it really boils down to, are we listening or not? I think that's the big thing is we've got to get to know one another. I'm not a good fit for everyone. I'm okay with that. And not everyone's a good fit for my firm. We've got to deal with people that, I have 3 requirements. They have to be nice, they have to be teachable, and they have to be optimistic about the future. If they're optimistic about the future, we can absolutely help them. But we can't help them if they're not teachable, for example. And so everything we do is really geared around education. And, we're not salesy in the sense of trying to coerce people or anything like that. We're inviting people to learn about solutions that they're not aware of. And so we have I have a team of people. It's not a one-man shop or one-man approach. There's a team of people with varied professional experience, designations, and we bring all of that to bear when we help clients. And so at the end of the day, our whole goal is for you to retire with income you can't outlive, that's tax advantaged, and that's protected. And we're going to do that in a customized plan where we design it. First we got to discover what your needs are, of course. That's all the conversations. But then we design a plan that's customized to you, and then we deploy that plan. We call it the 3 Ds, and it's all with the goal of getting people to a work-optional lifestyle. So if that work optional lifestyle appeals to people, we say come visit with us. That's absolutely where we specialize.
Yeah, and again, this customized plan designed around your needs, your wants, your desires, all these different aspects here, encompassing things like the cost of healthcare, guys. It's astronomical. And realizing that you need different streams of income to last for your money to last as long as you do. Again, that phone number is 702-996-4050, 702-996-4050. That website, mygoldenyearsroadmap.com. Are you a fan of the big Broadway musical hit Hamilton, Mark? Have you seen it? Do you want to see it? Where do you stand there?
My family's big into musical theater. That's not my favorite, but I think it's one of my daughter's favorites. So,
yeah, it's a great show.
Quite creative.
And during those 10 years, it's won 11 Tonys, a Grammy, and even a Pulitzer Prize. I mean, come on. And then, no big deal, it's grossed like $1 billion worldwide.
Yeah, minor detail.
Just a little Broadway thing, not a big deal. Some who have gone to see the show, it seems they come away just a little confused. Talking about my friend comedian Sebastian Maniscalco.
So this thing starts. 10 minutes into Hamilton, I tap my wife. I go, I got no idea what's going on. I couldn't understand it. I didn't even know what Hamilton did. I went to this play to find out why this guy was so fabulous. And you got to understand something about my wife and I. We are dumb. I'll tap my wife. I go, you know what's going on? She's like, no, you? Nothing. We just sit there. Dumb.
Well, that same mentality, listen, we've all been there once in our life, whether it was in grade school, college, or out on a date or something like this. You just kind of shake your head and you go, yeah, sure, but you have no idea what's happening. It got me thinking about planning for retirement, how there's probably been some people that have sat across the table from you, Mark, and you're explaining, and they're kind of going along with you, but you could tell their eyes glaze over, that they have no idea what's happening.
They're not
there. Yeah, and you got to press the pause button and slow things down a little bit.
I find him funny there because I kind of have the same reaction to Hamilton. I can't keep up with the fast pace of the rap and all that. I find myself, even though I very much know the history of it and I love the music. And yes, you're right. It is that way sometimes with retirement planning discussions. And, for some people, it's just a new language. And so they're intimidated too. It's this feeling that they're going from a certain paycheck to paycheck kind of a 40-year work experience and then going into this great unknown. And so I think the anxiety of it is probably what blurs it even more. I mean, we try very hard not to use the industry jargon, where we go over people's head and all. And I'm sure that I fail at that, and I'm not perfect either. But, I've spent 30 plus years trying to learn to speak in a manner that people will understand. But at the end of the day, if people are nice and they are teachable and they're optimistic about their future, that's what gets them to come in with us. And those are our criteria to work with people. If they're nice and teachable, we always are going to be able to bring them greater confidence. They'll always leave with a greater perspective than they came in with, and those who choose to work with us get the outcomes that they desire, because we can bring science and art to this, and we can absolutely give them the confidence they need.
Yeah, I mean, and listen, there's a few things in life that I want to take full control over. When I take my car in and the guy wants to explain to me exactly how the brakes and the rotors and all this works with the engine, I'm kind of looking at him like, just fix it. I don't need to know how the donuts are made.
Amen.
Right? Just fix it. Tell me how much it is. But when it comes to my money and my retirement, you better believe I'm going to be asking all the questions. I want to know why, how, when. Is there a better option? Is this the only option? And if I don't understand what you're saying, I do it right here on the show, Mark, all the time. I go, hold on a minute, back up. What are you talking about? And I think that's important that people do that when they sit down with you. This is not
amen.
The time to be polite and sit back and just go, sure, I get it, and then leave going, I don't know what just happened to our life savings, but I guess it's going to work out. That's not the thing to do.
We have a expression here in the office, and it's 60% of the acceptance of all ideas comes after the sixth hearing. So in other words, you have to hear something 6 times before even 60% of it sticks. 6 times. And so we purposely build into our conversations a lot of repetition. And we constantly are inviting people to come back and revisit it. It's kind of like church. You go every Sunday, you hear the same message. It's not that it's new. It's just that it takes a while to sink in, And so we invite those questions because this is sacred money. I mean, I don't use that term lightly. The money people have saved for retirement represents a lifetime of sacrifice and effort. And so we've got to have confidence individually, meaning I as the customer need to have confidence that the advisor is giving me dependable and good advice. And if I'm not comfortable with it, yes, absolutely, you need to keep asking those questions until you are comfortable with it. And sometimes it's just a matter of rephrasing, But that's why we need advisors, because we typically only get one shot of doing retirement right. And so we can't leave this to chance. Ask your questions. Please, please, please ask your questions.
Yeah, and it all begins with you right now listening. And if you're jotting down questions or if you're thinking, man, I've just been trying to figure this all out on my own, please don't feel like you have to do that. This is where Mark comes in. Allow him to put his 30-plus years of experience to work for you. Listen, we know everyone's busy, so if you want to set up a quick 15, 20-minute complimentary phone call to kind of get some questions answered, see how Mark can help you, we will set that up for you. If you'd like to come in the office, even better. Let's get to know each other. Let's see how Mark can help you moving forward again on your road to retirement. Again, that phone number, 702-996-4050, 702-996-4050. Back in April, the stock market, it actually went down almost 20% in just a couple days. Then it bounced back in a week. But if you panicked and you sold, you might be wondering, well, what do I do now? An MIT study found that the people who tried to time the market and got burned, well, 30% are out of the stock market for good. So what would you tell somebody who sold during the crash, Mark?
Well, first off, don't sell during the crash. It's kind of like the roller coaster. We love it when it goes up. We hate it when it goes down. But you don't jump off when it goes down before the ride is done. That's where the fatalities occur, and we don't want fatalities. Jumping out of the market when it's down invariably causes people to lose out on that upswing. And because God alone knows when it's going to swing back up, we've got to stay in the market. There's been some fascinating studies. I just read another one by Fidelity that basically said that over the last 40 years, if you missed the top 10 days in the market, you would end up with like 47% of what you should have had. So in other words, if you miss 10 days out of a 40-year period, you lose half of the opportunity. Well, truly, God alone knows which when those 10 days are going to occur. You and I cannot forecast that. And so we can't be in this attitude of, hokey pokey, 1 foot in, 1 foot out, trying to guess when to get in, when to get out, and trying to make those decisions based upon some historical track record, which will never repeat itself in the future. And so that's a number one mistake, is trying to time the market and trying to do so based upon past experience. If you're going to be in the market, it needs to be for periods of 10 years or more. We need to be thinking long term. And that's what it does phenomenally well, is it grows money over time. Now, if you cannot endure those 20% kind of swings in there, well, then some of your money needs to be out of the market. And we can absolutely help you with that. You don't always give up returns by moving money out of the market into alternative investments. We can show you alternatives that are principal protected, totally safe. They give you that peace of mind and confidence you need, because that effectively buys you time to wait for the market to swing back up the way it invariably does if we're patient.
Investment advisory services offered through Golden Years Financial LLC, a registered investment advisory firm. Insurance is offered through Golden Years Insurance Services. These firms do not provide legal or tax advice. Consult your own legal and tax advisors before taking actions that may have tax implications. Investing in securities involves risk, including the potential loss of principal. Insurance contracts principal protection is based on the claim-paying ability of the respective insurer. None of the information contained on this website shall constitute an offer to sell or solicit to buy a security or insurance product. The information and opinions contained on this site or requested from this site are provided by third parties believed to be reliable, but accuracy and completeness cannot be guaranteed. They are provided for informational purposes only and are not a solicitation to buy or sell any of the products mentioned. Any media logos and or trademarks contained herein are the property of their respective owners, and no endorsement by those owners of Mark Cordner, Golden Years Financial, or Golden Years Insurance is stated or implied.